Hello, everyone's Forest Focus as Nottingham Forest play out another 0-0 draw, but it was a much better game for at least an hour than it wasn't against a spirited, to say the least, Fiorentina team at the City Ground. So we'll discuss the game in full, a bit of transfer news, and a new shirt sponsor in the company of, first of all, Greg Mitchell. Good evening. How are you?
All right. Yourself?
Not too bad. I put my notes in the wrong file, reading it off my phone, and then I pressed the button and it's got some kind of lightning effects going all over the screen, which is why I read that intro even worse than normal, if people are wondering. But yeah, I'm okay. Thank you.
Matt announcing, much to everyone's surprise, that he makes notes. So good.
Pete Blackburn, how are you?
Yeah, I'm all right, thanks. I'm buzzing that we got to see Tony Pulis's dream live out tonight with not 4 but 5 centre backs at the base of defence. Pretty powerful stuff.
Yeah, 5 big centre backs, and did we get a free kick in the box? It doesn't matter; it's a friendly. But yeah, let's hope we don't see that in the Premier League anyway. But it was decent before that. We'll get into that after introducing Lewis McGugan. Lewis, how are you?
Good evening. Good evening. It's nice to be back on. So yeah.
How was Singapore?
Hot, humid. Yeah, it was tough. No, but it was really, really good to spend a week with the boys. It's good to catch up. Obviously, life moves on. You know what I mean? You share a change room with some lads for 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 years. So life moves on, and we all kind of go our separate ways. So it was really nice to kind of get together. And it was good. Like I said, Leicester was out there. Obviously, West Ham as well. So there's a lot of mutual friends within the whole group. So it was a really good trip to kind of go back down memory lane. So yeah.
Yeah, Lewis played in a Masters tournament in Singapore, for people who aren't aware, with like James Perch, Chris Commons.
There we go.
I couldn't remember who else for Chris Commons, but yeah, that's
can we talk about Chris Commons? Has he still got it?
Yeah, so like I said,
the hate for Forest.
It was really good. Obviously, Chambo, Perchy, Julian Bennett, and so like I said, it was really good to kind of bring back them old times. Yeah, we got to the semi-finals, but got knocked out by Leicester. I think Wes was waiting for us in the semi-finals. So, so yeah, it was, like I said, really, really good trip. Really good chance to kind of spend a bit of quality time with some lads that you shared a change room with, and all in all, the football and the tournament, the way they set it up and the way they looked after us was absolutely fantastic. So hopefully it's kind of a thing that's going to happen every year now. So getting more and more publicity each year. So yeah, we're looking forward to the next one.
Well,
Did you score any bangers, Lou?
I scored one. Yeah, I just kind of, at that point, I was mentally and physically drained, so I just literally hit it as hard as possible. Yeah, I think the goalkeeper did me a favour and it went in, but yeah.
No, I saw some goals on social media, and it was nice to see some goals in a Forest shirt, because I'm yet to see too many in this current guise of team. Certainly, I didn't see one tonight, but Pete, and a good hour. I mean, I enjoyed the first 65 minutes. Lewis, disclaimer, Lewis missed the first half, so he might think we're completely mental when we talk about it. But for 65 minutes, I thought we were decent, and then it was a non-entity after that. But yeah, your thoughts on it, Pete?
Yeah, I think you have to wade through the sort of slightly bleak, creamy mess of that final half an hour or so. But before that, genuinely, I was really positive. I think it looked like the first time that we'd taken a pre-season game properly seriously, sort of competitively this summer. And it wasn't just about getting minutes and legs, but there was more about the shape. Like, you could see they've worked on quite a few different things. I mean, both out of possession and in possession, I thought it was quite interesting. Players in different roles to what we've seen before. I thought we played some really nice stuff. I think the new boys looked very sharp. Jesus, I think, is probably quite a natural in that role. In a sort of slightly deeper role, trying to find a pocket of space, receive progressive passes and drive. And Doy looked really lively. Hudson-Odoi, I thought, looked back to something approaching his best, the real sharpness and the desire he has to get that ball and be direct. I mean, Elliot Anderson, pretty imperious, some pretty remarkable stuff. I was really hoping that Lou would have seen that pass in the first half where he just sprayed it first time out to the right wing, and it was, I was purring. But look, I think it was tremendously positive. and certainly the first time that we can say this pre-season that you've seen anything from us that gives you sort of a sense of what we might look like and what you hope we might look like. Obviously, I get that there's a sort of concern in the comments and wider fandom about there's another game without a goal, but I think realistically we looked an awful lot closer to creating good moments in that first 50-60 minutes. I thought there was a real fluidity about us. I liked the sort of often a bit of a 4-1-4-1 out of possession and really blocking passing lanes. I just thought we looked organised. Murillo's pressed the I'm a footballer again button and looks absolutely extraordinary. A different sort of extraordinary how he looked in the last few games. So look, personally, I think really, really positive. I'm going to forget about that last half an hour or so pretty quickly, but I think lots of good signs to take into the season from the first 60 minutes.
I suppose, Greg, we can't ignore the last half hour because it shows that we are short in a few areas, but it did break the game up quite a lot. But at least the first 65 minutes, maybe people say we're being too positive. I don't know. I know what the answer is. You're more glass half full than glass half empty, I guess, aren't you?
Yeah, I mean, that pass Anderson made halfway through the first half just got me so excited. Gibbs White started looking like he wanted to do a few outside of his foot pings again. And Doyle looks superb, and Jesus is a baller, isn't he? But even I can find a positive out of anything. Even that last half hour, you got Abbott battling away, fighting for that spot. Ryan Yates doing what Ryan Yates always does and make sure he's Mr. Reliable if and when called upon. So there's players there. It's clear we need those 4 or 5 signings still. It's clear you're never going to make 8 or 9 changes in one second half performance, but if 3 or 4 of them play like first team players, then we're okay. And I think 3 or 4 of them did on the pitch. So it's all right for me. First off, Hudson-Odoi looks sharp again. It was strange to see Sangare take a free kick at the end, but it was a lovely ball in.
You didn't see his ones against Birmingham then?
Yeah, well, we're not talking about Birmingham, are we? We're talking about this one. He's been playing consistently 90 minutes. It's clear he's going to be playing, or that he really, really needs to get his fitness up to that point of playing every game. So you'd imagine he's going to start. And there was glimpses in that game that got me excited. And it is only pre-season. Players aren't playing to, especially that first 11. They're not playing to earn the shirt, are they? They're just going at 70% and hoping they don't get injured and going through the motions, I'd imagine.
That wasn't a knock on Sangare, by the way.
Sounded like a knock on Sangare to me.
No, because he's had a good pre-season.
Definitely did.
Oh, don't wind him up. He has had a good pre-season.
Staring, Greg.
I'll ask Lewis some specifics, but I'll ask him this question from Marty to start with. When it comes to pre-season, I'm sure Lewis agrees with this. It has absolutely nothing to do with the public. It's for the squad, management and the backroom staff to prepare. Is that over egging the pudding, Lewis, or is there something in that Marty says?
Yeah, I think from a player's perspective and from kind of inside the change room, pre-seasons is always difficult. I think as a player, first and foremost, when you go back at the start of pre-season, your kind of objective is to get as fit as possible, get as kind of many minutes under your belt, injury free, and you're ready for selection come first game of the season. That's the objective at the start of pre-season. And there, like I said, there's little things with different managers at different times that try and implement different styles. But all in all, it's kind of that bit of a. You always want a good pre-season. You always want to get good results. But I've been in change rooms that have had a really, really, really good pre-season, and you start the season and it's been totally different, and you're struggling to win games. I've had some pre-season kind of situations where you're sitting there and you're thinking, right, okay, we're not quite at it, we're not quite where we should be. I think we're going to struggle. When you go into the season and you start off flying and you start winning games, so there's no real kind of there's no real kind of, when you look at it, it's very difficult to see. But I understand from a fan perspective, they want to see the new signings, they want to see the team gel, they want to see everything kind of flowing. But at the end of the day, all in all, you want everyone to tick and everything to get ready come the first game of the season. That's when it matters. That's when the points are on the line. And that's when And from also a player's point of view, everything changes. Even coming to the stadium, in and around the stadium, everything changes. That first league game is so much different. Even the game tonight back at the City Ground, it will still feel like, okay, we're getting close to the season, but nothing quite feels like that preparation ready for the first game of the season. So hopefully, like I said, by game, the lads are getting a bit more, the confidence is building. The players that came into the club are getting good minutes. They're building up connections within the team. And again, as long as lads get through tonight, minutes under the belt, injury free, build into Saturday, and then it's kind of the countdown for the week, looking for the big one and ready for kickoff.
Alex, thank you very much for being a member for 18 months. Appreciate that. Interesting to see how Jesus and Wood play together. We'll come on to Jesus because he was definitely of interest again today. I wanted to talk about the midfield pairing. I know you didn't see the whole game, Lou, but they started with Anderson and Morgan as a midfield two, with Jesus more advanced. I mean, I've been sceptical they could play a two in midfield at times in the Premier League because the players weren't good enough. But Anderson, I mean, is a dynamism and covering the ground. I think he's outstanding, and it lets Morgan play. Morgan's had too many flicks and tricks a bit tonight, but you can see he's got it. Do you like the concept of that pair, especially if Anderson has the season we hope he has?
I think, like I said before, I think Anderson came into the football club. I think he was terrific last year. I think he got better as the season went on. He's had a great summer in terms of with England on the 21s. It looks like he's come back again, full of confidence. And I feel he's a player, a bit like the old school. I think he can do everything. I think he's that complete midfield, and I think it's very, probably not disrespectful, that's probably the wrong word, but, to kind of pigeonhole him into something, into a position where he can only do this, he can only do that, he can only play deep, or he can only play in that 10. I think he can do all roles, and I think he's one of them players where you let him free, you let him just go and play, and I think that he brings that kind of old school centre midfielder, kind of up and down. Centre midfield's job is to do everything. Unfortunately, now everything's kind of pin-pocketed into, right, okay, I play defensive midfield, I can play as a 6, I can play as an 8. It's just a lot of words. At the end of the day, centre midfielder is to go and do everything you're doing in the engine room, and I think he can do that. I've always said with Morgan, I've always felt Morgan plays better when he plays from deep. I think he's more controlled in terms of his play. I think he thinks about it a lot more. I think at times when he sometimes plays in that 10, I think he sometimes looks like he's got to be kind of the tricks, the flicks, where I think when he plays a little deeper, he knows he can't kind of be that careless with the ball at times. So I think it's one of them. I think you have to look at the opposition. I think you have to look at what they want to do in terms of the opposition that you play against a Fiorentina team, a team that plays in a different culture, different country, plays a lot slower. I think you might be able to get away with it with obviously Jesus in that kind of in that 10, but I don't think in the Premier League, I don't think you could play them three together.
Interesting. We'll come back to Elliot Anderson. We've got to address Robin's comments about Greg and Pete looking more like every week.
Why are you looking disappointed?
Well, which one of these let yourselves go then to start looking so alike is the question.
What about the one about Lewis's hair and us?
I saw that. I was going to address this as well. I mean, I've not had a haircut for a while because my barber's disappeared. He's left his job and I'm having a crisis trying to find a replacement. So that's why I haven't got Lewis McGugan quality hair at the moment. Not that I ever have had. But getting sidetracked there, certainly. Right. We'll move on from that unless the lads want to weigh in on which one themselves let themselves go hideously. Pete Blackburn. I mean, this could turn into an Elliot Anderson loving because I think he's fantastic. And there was a bit tonight, early in the second half, where he played a ball to Morgan and then he's dashing back 40 yards to get back into position and win the ball again. I just think that stuff really stands out. So comment on Anderson in any way you want to, Pete Blackburn.
Yeah, we've discussed him quite a bit over recent months because he's been pretty phenomenal. I've waxed lyrical about him endlessly, and I'm actually starting to wonder if I've not gone as hard as I should have. I mean, I think he is absolutely phenomenal. Well, what Lewis describes as a complete midfielder, and I can't really believe that at the stage he is in his career, having only played nearly one full season in the Premier League, that he can do everything that he can do. I mean, he looks like the most complete footballer on the pitch in most games that I see him play right now, and I can't think of anything much nicer to say about him. I think one thing that seems to be increasing in his game as well is the progressive passing. I mean, in that first half or first 50 whatever minutes today, the amount of times that he was able to pick a pass through, quite tight lines really, and he pings it as well. He's asking a fair bit of players around him, but luckily we're at a level now where we've got footballers who can cope with that sort of stuff. But my God, he's a sort of player who can win you the ball and he can turn defense into attack in an absolute moment, a millisecond with his ability. I'm expecting enormous things from him this season. I mean, I'm not heaping pressure on him. It's more just I'm excited to see what he's going to do, because honestly, I think the world's his oyster, really. I think he's nailed on for that England squad next summer if he has an injury-free season. And I wouldn't be remotely surprised if he even forces his way into that starting 11, because I just think he's got the absolute lot.
I'll go to Greg in one sec, but Lou, just because you know midfield better than any of us. I mean, is it way too early to say just showing for the England squad when you consider there's Adam Wharton, Bellingham, Rice, a lot of players who can play that position, or is he that good?
Yeah, listen, I think he's on the way, and obviously he's got the previous stuff of being in the under 21s, and that's something that England like to do. Though they like, if it's a player that's kind of in that under 21 setup, they like to push them on a little bit more than the rest. But I think it's a thing in this country that we always do. I think it's like we get a player, he starts to play well in the Premier League, and the first thing we think about is like he's got to be in the England squad straight away. And it's like, let him just go and play. Let him just continue to get games, continue to get confidence. And if it happens, it happens. But I think it's that kind of necessity straight away, right, we've got to get him in the England squad. We've got to let him just evolve as a player. He's still very young. He's learning. He's getting more experience, as Pete said. In terms of out-and-out season, playing season in, season out, he hasn't done it for a long time. So I think right now, he's on a great kind of trajectory to get into that England squad. But when that comes, it comes. I think, again, it's something that we tend to do. It's like when we get a player and it's like, right, he's played 5-10 games in the Premier League, he's done okay. It's like straight away, England squad. And it's like, okay, let's just strip it back. Let him just go and have a season. Let him go and have another season. And then I feel like that's where we don't get that disappointment in, right, okay, he's gone in the squad, he's had a cap, and then we don't see him for 6 months, don't see him for 12 months. Because I think it's just a necessity to get him in there. And I think what you want to do as a player, if I want to get into the England squad, I want to get in there and I want to stay in there. So, like I said, I think for us as Nottingham Forest, let's just let him continue enjoying his football. Let him continue getting more experience. Let him go and have another good season where he goes and churns out 40-plus games in all competitions and he's a real standout performer. And then we'll see where we are. But I know he won't be getting carried away. The people around him won't be getting carried away because, as Pete said, he's only at the start of his journey of his football career in terms of playing week in, week out.
Good football point here from Simon F. Having Nico in the team did make a difference massively compared to that Blues game where we had 4 centre-backs strung across the pitch. Thank you to Nicky for offering to do all of our haircuts. Lewis might decline because he's sorted.
I'll say yes, thank you.
Yes, yeah. Thank you, Nicky. People, I didn't think we'd be doing a stream where people is absolutely battering our hair, but thank you, bangers and mash. Wasn't what I was predicting tonight. Let's take a word for the Trent now before we talk a little bit about Igor Jesus coming up in October. Legends of Manchester gig. If you're a fan of the Smiths or New Order, check out fatsoma.com. Tickets are £15. Obviously, it's not actually the Smiths and New Order or anything like that, but it is a top quality covers band. So do check that out. I'll pop the link in in the description. Right.
It'd be amazing if the Smiths reformed and chose the Trent Nav as their first gig
15
location.
quid. I
mean,
know.
look, you can't argue with it. It's a great venue.
Why wouldn't they?
I know, but I didn't want to get done for, false advertising, getting people's hopes up, certainly. Right, Igor Jesus. Interesting again, Greg, got the start, playing with Chris Wood, playing in that kind of advanced role with an attacking midfield behind him. We'll talk more about how that team worked, perhaps. But Igor Jesus, is he playing himself into the team for Brentford or not?
He's a very different player to Wood, isn't he? And also, it made me think that you bought a bit more out of Wood as well. I think so. I think if we also have not a fully fit midfield, or we don't want to throw all our eggs in, it's a very good option. So I wouldn't be surprised if he's there. And he's starting, isn't he? He's starting these games where it looks like we're setting up for that first game of the season. So I'd like to see it, if I'm honest. I think both of the starters today, the new guys, played very well. But do you know? Can I just go back to one thing about the Anderson to England thing? I felt like it was not that you'd know this, Lewis. I felt like it was a personal attack because about 4 years ago, I bet quite a few people in the pub that Joe Worrell would have an England cap within 5 years, and I think I've got 1 year left.
I think you want to pay out on that one. So.
Yeah, to be honest, they're all such nice guys; they'll forget about it, so it'll be all right.
Yeah,
sure I was thinking of that when you were giving that brilliant, very sensible and agreeable speech. But so back to Jesus. I'm just excited about him. You can already see it. You can already see there's a player in there that's worthy of Premier League football. And let's not get too excited, but he's going to be featuring. He's certainly going to be featuring, and it's just how much of an impact he can make, because we certainly need it.
Yeah, I'm this isn't a direct comparison before people jump on me in the chat, but sort of Firmino-esque style, Pete, and that he offers something very different, at least, whatever we think about him. We probably needed that extra dimension, didn't we?
Well, I thought one of the most reassuring things about the game today was that I'm going to answer your question, don't forgive me, but what was that we've heard Nuno, or we've heard the sort of briefings about Nuno's plan to sort of evolve the style a little bit and such like. And I thought we started to see that today. And part of it was out of possession. I think they were quite a bit higher up the pitch. The engagement in terms of when to press was much quicker, much more intense. It looked like they were trying to be more dominant and have more intent out of possession. And I think that also applied in possession as well, where particularly during that first half, there was a sort of an acceptance that we would have the ball for a significant amount of time and that we would be patient and we would probe. And then we also still were able to snap into the counter when those moments came with, Ndoye and Hudson-Odoi looking like a real threat. And I think part of the sort of change there was that Jesus playing in the hole, he does give you something really different in terms of being able to find that little pocket of space and very quickly turn and find the pass. And there's a real sort of smoothness about the way he does it. And it felt to me like he was bringing another dimension and unlocking a bit of fluidity between the rest of those players around him. It also meant clearly that Gibbs White was playing in a deeper position, and I thought it was pretty obvious that he was having more impact than he's been able to have at other moments. I guess, obviously, pre-season, it's really hard to make any sort of major points about it. But it was notable, I think, watching that he was finding moments where he could pick passes between the lines that split the opposition and made a real difference. So it felt like something that was sort of working for everyone there. I don't think it's something that you're doing every game, but I wouldn't be remotely adverse to seeing that starting lineup, ideally with Valorena in it, against Brentford first game of the season. I think in some of the sort of perhaps tougher games where you're not likely to have as much of the ball, I think it might be a bit of a big ask to have those two starting centre mid and Jesus ahead of them. And probably in that circumstance, you might want to bring in a Sangare or a Douglas Luiz or whoever it is that we've got as an option at the time. But I thought there was a real sign of progression there, and Jesus already looks very comfortable. I mean, this wasn't a game played like a pre-season friendly all the time. There was some pretty feisty stuff going on from the Fiorentina players. He took a couple of blows, but he looks like someone who who can adapt. I think the early signs are really promising, and I also think, for him as an individual, but also I think for the impact that he might be able to have on the team, linking things up.
Yeah, and I thought Dan and Doy had a bright first half as well and had a good moment. But
Definitely.
I'm sat here waxing lyrical about our attack. Lewis probably sat there thinking, having seen the second half, these guys are absolute morons, because he saw 30 minutes of not so good stuff. Maybe he thinks we're absolute morons. Yeah, he might think we're absolute morons every time he's on. I don't know. And Pat says, the elephant is the room. We can't score a goal to save our lives. Would you put credence in that, Lou? We just cannot score goals. Is that going to affect players' confidence in the dressing room or not?
Yeah, listen, you all want to score goals as fans. You want to see goals in pre-season. Strikers want to get on the score sheet. They want to get into them good habits. So yeah, that's a very fair point. But again, like I said, pre-season, sometimes it's his own entity. You get into the season, and I say, hopefully, like I say, Chris Wood could go and score a hat-trick first game. That's how it is, and unfortunately, I do get it because you want to see them kind of good habits. You want to see our attacking players hitting the back of the net. But it's just where we are. It's just where we are. I wouldn't think too deeply into it. You know what I mean? If we're having this conversation kind of 3-4 games into the season, then yeah, I think it's a fair discussion to have. But I think what we have to do is we have to give the manager and the players the opportunity to get up to speed. And again, as long as we're coming through these games with players getting minutes under the belt with no injuries, that's what we want. And again, ready for the start of the season. And it's just kind of all out, go and attack and go and play. And I think that's where we need to be. I think especially last season, even how successful it was, I think at times, again, potentially, are we changing the way we're going to go about things? Are we going to go about things where you're looking at Brentford, you're looking at how they're going to come? We have to be on that front foot. We have to set the tone. Again, so it's about changing how we're going to go about certain games. Because I think, again, when we look at it, they're the games, even last year, where we struggled a little bit, where it's like, right, how do we break down these teams? How do we go on the front foot? It's all right sitting in and waiting for these teams to kind of have a majority of the ball, and then we kind of pick them off on the break. But we over time, we're changing, and we have to get that other tactical approach of, right, these teams are going to come to the City ground and they're going to sit in and they're going to try and take a point. How do we go about breaking them down, and how we go about being on that front foot and being that different team? So hopefully all them kind of conversations and tactical discussions are being had. And it's just the excitement, really. The excitement we all are as fans is pre-season. Yes, we like to see it, but after a few games, it's like, come on, you know what I mean? Let's get to the real stuff. So we're nearly there. Again, hopefully they have another kind of good 10 days where we get some more minutes on the belt, get ready for that week, and we're ready to go for Brentford.
740 people watching, which is lovely. Do us a favour and hit like if you haven't already. That'd be great. One thing we haven't really mentioned for a while, Greg, because we just kind of assume we do look solid at the back, don't we? I mean, apart from that one incident where Keane beat Murillo and Milenkovic surprisingly way too easily. Other than that, the foundations look like they're there. Jaya Cunha, we haven't really mentioned. I thought he looked pretty good and steady to get it today. So, we can't forget that. I know we're talking about goal scoring quite rightly, but there are good foundations to build on.
Oh, Nuno's going to love that they had another clean sheet. Of course, he wants to see goals, and maybe that's why we're still looking in that market, and we'll still be successful in that market. But yeah, we've had a few clean sheets already, haven't we? And I imagine this is going to be a bigger test than Saturday's game, with all respect to them. But yeah, I mean, they had some cracking players on the pitch tonight, didn't they? I know some of them at the twilight area of their career, but some of the names that were on show tonight, they could give us some real problems. Yeah, I love our defence. I still think our defence is going to be one of the best, possibly one of the busiest. Again, it's just the way we play, but they always stand up to it, don't they? And we've got cover in that central defensive area, especially when we do need to give players a bit of a rest, which is a relief, to say the least.
What did you make of Fiorentina's approach, Lewis? You didn't see the first half. There was a really poor tackle on Williams by Keane. Second half, there was a really poor tackle on Chris Wood. Other than that, I didn't actually mind it, to be honest, and I think it had some value that there was a bit of needle in the game. But as a player, would you be pretty pissed off if there's a couple of those tackles flying in like that in a game?
I think what it is being in positions when you play teams from different countries over pre-season, and I think again for us where it's probably gave us a little bit of an insight as fans of potentially how European football is going to look. These teams are completely different. They play different. They have kind of different objectives. The second half of scene, which is always pre-season, but it is quite, especially in Italy, very slow. The build-up's very kind of laboured, very light look. So and at times it can be frustrating to watch, and at times it can be frustrating to play against, because in England football is kind of front foot, everyone's at it, and it's kind of end to end. Where European football is completely different. So I think it's given a little bit of an insight of maybe what we can look in terms of the European side, what we may have to deal with. These teams, especially away from home, a lot of them come to try and frustrate, get reactions a little bit like that. So I'm like I said, I'm used to, and I'm not surprised of that. I'm not surprised to see it. And again, I think it's something that as a fan base we'll see quite often this season when we play them kind of different teams. But yeah, there is some good players in there, and again, they're at a stage. I'm not sure when their season actually starts, so I'm not sure exactly where their stage they will be. But again, you look at was it 9 changes they made at 75 minutes? They made 9 changes, which I don't care who you are. That's going to take any momentum you have out of any game straight away. So I think it's very difficult to kind of keep any momentum or keep any kind of rhythm in a game where an opposition makes that changes. So yeah, it's one of them. Like I said, it's a good opposition. Good to see a different kind of way. We look a little bit better in terms of from where we was from Birmingham and stuff like that. So it's just progression. It's progression. Going to get different styles, different opposition, different kind of players, and hopefully it kind of sets them up to be ready for the season.
Their season starts, well, potentially the same as ours, really, depending on the Palace thing. They've got the Conference League playoffs in the 21st of August. Serie A starts against Cagliari on the 24th, so a week later than us. So they're a week behind, basically. Pete, anyone else you want to talk about in the game? Sal's made some good saves. Anyone else of note or anything like that for you?
Well, Sal's is so reliable that, I think we can go games without talking about him, because we just expect him to come up big in those moments where we need it, and he did again. A good save from Mozican, a good save at the from that sort of near post flick at the corner. And he just seems like such a solid feature of this football team now, and I think it's perhaps a bit underrated just how far he's come, really. Because I remember the debate being quite strong when he first came into the team about how much of an upgrade he actually had been. And when Miguel signed, there was a clamour from certain sections of the Forest fan base for him to come in, despite no one having seen him play any football, really. So I think he was underappreciated for a good while. And I've said before, I think the key moment for him is that he really went from being someone who was reliable and solid, and that was an antidote to what we'd had before, to somebody who actually really stands up in big moments and often makes special saves, as well as the sort of the classic everyday stuff. So yeah, I thought he was great. I mean, we haven't really talked about Dan Ndoye much, and I'm not going to miss a chance to say I thought he played very well, given that Danscape and I spent ages rattling on about how Forest should sign him before the reports had even come out. So I think that's obviously nice to see. I mean, I think the thing that strikes me about Ndoye is that I think both Dan and I mentioned originally we felt he could be a bit of a sort of plug-in and play replacement, even not as a totally similar player to Elanga, but bringing a lot of the same sort of skills and someone who we felt could just slot in the division and do a job for us. And I think that's what we're seeing already. I love how direct he is. There was a couple of moments where it just didn't quite come off. I think there was a break where Hudson-Odoi sprinted down the right-hand side, and I saw Ndoye sort of floating across the box looking to come. And I think one of the things we said about him was that he looks like a proper goal scorer, someone who might be able to explode in that sense. And so that was nice to see him drifting across looking for that that opportunity. He obviously had a couple of chances himself as well, and both of them created by that instant burst of speed, I guess, from a sort of standing start where he is able to push it past the defender, in the space of just 3, 4, 5 yards or whatever, and make room for himself. I don't know whether that's. I guess Lewis didn't see those chances, but I'm not exactly sure what it is that he's doing that means that the defenders aren't able to read that. But it seems like he's got something special in that initial burst. I guess in a similar way to what Hudson-Odoi is able to do when he drops the shoulder and he just gets enough room to kill that ball. But it's more explosive with Odoi. So I think he looks, to me, like a really positive addition, another potentially really good, solid piece of recruitment. And someone who should really go from strength to strength, because he's only just arrived, still getting settled. So yeah, for me that was the one that probably spoke to me outside of the ones that we knew a bit about already.
Matt in the chat says says we're saying it wrong. It's Doy, not Undoy. I mean, Adam Summerton was on here and he said Undoy. I'll check.
Very adamant as well.
I know. I'll check the Premier League player pronunciations when they come out, or I'll look for a video of it. But I always thought it was Undoy, certainly. The only other players I noted down, Greg, were players like Stamanic. I think Richards didn't come on; he was on the bench. The fact they're coming on, either they're in the squad or they're placeholders for transfers. And the point I was going to make is it probably shows, the first 11 looked bright tonight, but there's a fair bit of transfer work to do, and it was kind of emphasised again, wasn't it?
Yeah, definitely. And there's going to be players that are going out to League One, League Two clubs later in the window as well. But I tell you, a player I do really want us to keep now, and that's Jota. I think seeing what he can do with the last 10, 20 minutes of a game and win as a free kick and little things like that. I know we always go back to, was it Temps that said about the balloon?
Kelv,
sorry, said about the balloon. I always get that with Jota, but I think he looks good and he looks exciting, and he's not a player for 90 minutes. I think we've learned that by now, but he's an impact player. So I like how he's still featuring. I want to see him stay.
Okay, I've got to ask Lou about that, because I'm more of the opinion that he probably isn't of the level. To me, I don't know. Where are you at on Jota, Lewis?
Listen, I think at times last year, I think he came into a situation in terms of when we needed a little bit of hope in the squad. He came in that instance, and I think from the bench, I think in terms of his kind of front foot pressing and the way he's busy around the pitch, I think he makes a difference at times when he comes off the bench. Starting, I don't think. I think at times, again, he started last year. For me, I don't think he quite has that. I don't think he's quite at that kind of standard to go and start in games. But again, in terms of a squad play, in terms of coming off the bench, doing a job, doing a role, maybe changing the tempo of a game, I think he did very well in certain stages last year. So I think it's just a case of where this squad goes and how the club try and evolve it, really, and that will kind of determine where the likes of Jota and that end up. I think if the squad has, in terms of a real difference in terms of the last few where we try and get 3 or 4 in, maybe his situation changes. But if that doesn't happen, I think he'll be around and he'll still be involved.
Sorry, Matt.
Sorry.
Keeping you.
No,
Matt
what I was
just
doing is
trying to work out how to pronounce Undoy.
Yeah, and he did say Dan Doy. I did. There was a short video on a Twitter feed at Forest Bank, and he did say Dan Doy. So we better start saying Dan Doy. Sorry, Luke. Instead of pressing mute on my video, I pressed mute on my mic, and then just completely shit all over
Davies.
I know. Sorry. Fantastic professionalism. All right, I'll stick with Lewis because I want to hear more, and I'll actually listen this time professionally. Douglas Luiz, Lou, we've been linked to him so much by the Italian media. English media absolutely silent on him. Where are you at on Douglas Luiz as a Forest player?
Yeah, it's a tough one. I think it's one of them where we just constantly hear whispers, but there's no real kind of acceleration in it. Is it? Do you know what I mean? There's nothing really looks like it's gone to that next level. I don't know if it's maybe Juventus again trying to kind of drum up interest. I think they're keen to kind of offload him. I've seen is it potentially Everton as well that are interested. Listen, I think there's probably no secrets that he probably wants to come back to the Premier League, but it's a case of finance. As hard as that look for, I think In improvement, yeah. Listen, I think he's a very good player. I think he's a player that's been involved in terms of the transformation of Villa, and I think he's helped them. He's gone to Juventus, so kind of that bigger step, and it probably quite hasn't worked again. But I do think he could come into the squad and definitely help that area. But I think it has to be right. It has to be right for the club, but it also has to be right in the sense of, does he really want to come to Nottingham Forest? Or is it a case of, right, okay, I want to come back to the Premier League, whoever's going to kind of take me, I'll just go there. And I think it's important that, again, we get that quality in, but we get the right quality in for the right reasons. So we'll wait and see in terms of that one. But I feel like it's a name that's been kind of touted around for a long time without any kind of real substantial progress happening.
We'll talk about another central midfielder in a couple of seconds, but just before we do, a word of thanks for Vesta Blinds. If you're looking for made-to-measure blinds or shutters across the East Midlands, but especially in the Notts area, do get in touch. Links in the description at vestablinds.com, and you can see the number on the screen now if you're watching on YouTube. So thanks very much for their backing. Forest today linked with Mad Bidstrup, is it? Because, you know, if I'd professionally left my notes in the right channel, I would have clicked on the button. There'd be some writing there, and then I clicked on it. There was absolutely nothing. So that's why I'm scrambling and panicked. Florian Plettenberg, the Sky Sports Germany reporter, linked us with him. He plays for Red Bull Salzburg, so it's a Red Bull team. Greg won't like that. 24-year-old central midfielder, Danish under-21 international, who played for Brentford. Energetic midfielder.
Hey.
What?
Oh, I thought you were going with the Red Bull thing about energetic. No,
actually, as a footballer, apparently he's quite energetic.
Oh dear.
Sorry.
Oh dear. I've seen sod all of him. Pete, have you seen anything of him playing? He played for Brentford a bit, didn't he? Do you know anything about him?
I've got a recollection of him. Yeah, I don't think I've seen him play for at least a year. I remember him as being a very, very energetic centre mid who was sort of known for being a bit of a pressing monster. I think he's probably, I've asked around a bit, and I think people seem to describe him as being a sort of a bit of a jack of all trades, I guess. Not really someone who is a sort of, say, you know, an outstanding playmaker or an outstanding ball winner or whatever, but someone who will bring energy, and I guess is an option to play alongside Elliot Anderson, and you know, provide some extra running and such like in there. I can't say that I've seen enough of him recently to know whether it's a good move. Profile sort of makes sense to us. You know, 24. Don't think it would be big money. So it's someone there's still room for development. But I don't know. I can't add an awful lot more than that. And I guess if you're signing someone like him, who's not necessarily a sort of out-and-out ball winner, you're potentially asking Elliot Anderson to do more of that. I don't know whether that's necessarily the right balance or not. Personally, I think the profile of Douglas Luiz makes more sense to me as someone who can step into the Forest team, sort of hoover up bits and pieces and then play the progressive passes and such like, and maybe unlock some of our other players. I'm not against it, and I haven't got enough experience with him recently to have any more of a strong view than that, really.
Yeah, if it goes anywhere, then I'll get someone who's actually seen him play more, and we'll comment on him properly. Angus Gunn looks like he's going to sign, according to The Athletic, and Fabrizio Romano. I'm speaking to Connor Southwell, I think his name is, who covers Norwich for the local paper tomorrow. So I'll do a proper bit on him. So we'll get some more thoughts on that. I'm putting you on the spot here, Lewis. How many more signings do you think we need, out of curiosity?
I think it's an interesting. I think, okay, you've got to look at are people going to go the other way in terms of potential people leaving the building. I think that's something I think the club have to look at before are they going to move people on. I think it's difficult. I think it's difficult. I think we need another wide player of quality. I think that's probably very much high on the list, and I think we need that kind of centre midfield player, but the centre midfield player in terms of who gives us something different than the current crop, and I think that's important that we do that. I think it's, again, just bringing a body in what can pretty much, I think it has to be a different sort than what we already have. So I would say I would say a winger and a central midfield player. In terms of if we brought in two, I think to go into the season, I think we'll be fairly happy with that again. But there's going to be a lot of kind of twists and turns, and I still feel that there may be a few people kind of leaving the club as well.
People go on, Pete. Sorry.
I was just going to add. I think we probably pretty urgently need depth in fullback areas as well.
Yeah,
I mean, you can't. I don't think you can go into a season with Nico and Aina and then be looking to play centre halves in those positions if those two aren't available. And also, I think it would be really helpful if we could find a naturally left-footed left back as well. Not necessarily to play instead of Nico, who I'm a big fan of, and I think is totally earned that jersey right now. And I'd be very happy for him to continue in the role all season. But just to give a different option, I think sometimes when you watch Forest, it feels like we lack a bit of that potential width because you've got Hudson-Odoi cutting in from the left most of the time. In tonight's game, Nico got to the byline probably 2 or 3 times, and it's always a sort of check back. And there were opportunities to get a quicker cross in, and I think someone like Chris Wood would probably thrive off that. So I think ideally an option of a left-footed left back would be good. But regardless of that, I think you definitely need depth in those positions because we haven't got it as things stand. Obviously, last season we had Moreno to call upon, and we haven't got that now. I don't think it would be particularly pretty if Premier League wingers were running at Cunha and Morata or David Carmo come the start of the season.
I think so. Omar Richards as well. We haven't seen enough of him. Say again.
Or Willie Bolly, didn't you have a little go at fullback earlier?
Oh,
well, he was sort of right centre back, wasn't he, when we played 5?
Yeah, we played enough of them, certainly.
A few people. Sorry, just on Pete's point on the fullback, I think it's, again, I agree completely. I think it's very, very difficult. I think because you're trying to get players in, you're trying to get cover in, but the reality is the player knows deep down, I'm coming in as cover. So I think it's a very difficult market to look into. You look at in terms of bringing Moreno last year, you think bring from Villa, okay, stock quite high. You got to the point where he never played, and that's kind of made the point where it's kind of okay. The loan just kind of fizzled out, and it is what it is. So I think it's a difficult market, especially a fullback, to kind of come in and bring someone in, because I think where we're looking, and that's hats off to the two players in terms of Ola, in terms of Nico. I think they've pushed on so much. It's kind of everyone knows that they are, and that's how players are. They're looking at, they are the number one right now. They're number one fullbacks. So I think it's a very difficult market, to say, right, we need fullback cover. But the reality is, not a lot of players just want to come in as cover. That's the reality. Unfortunately, players want to come in and play, and I think if they sometimes look at it and think, right, okay, I could move here, maybe have a different option, but I know pretty much if they're fit that they're going to play. It's not that easy. So I think again, that will be a difficult situation, because I think it's a positions that you always want. You do want cover, but you also don't want to be chopping and changing in the fullback area. You don't really. You want to kind of have your mainstays. Them kind of players play over 80% of the games. That's just how it's always been. So, listen, yeah, I agree with Pete's point, and you have to try and look for cover there. It's needed, but I also, from a club point of view, it's not that easy where you've got two fullbacks playing at the kind of levels that them two currently are.
I think Lou is totally right, and the predominant reason why I personally have felt that we need to be really patient with the recruitment this summer is because actually pretty much all the positions that we're looking at, apart from maybe centre mid from this point on, are players who are going to come into a team where they're not grabbing an instant shirt in the 11 and are going to have to compete and are going to really be looked to be an option from the bench. And that applies in the wide roles. I don't think someone's going to walk into the team and take Hudson-Odoi or Dan Doy's shirt. And like I say, it certainly applies to goalkeepers as well, obviously, and to the fullback cover. So I agree, it's incredibly hard. I think probably the way around it maybe is to try and look for young talent and offer them the opportunity that we have this season of European competition as well. We're obviously going to be competing on a lot of fronts, and it's not very realistic for players like Olorena to play every game, because you see what he's like. His body is struggling after 60 minutes in lots of game. He gets through so much work, does so much one-on-one defending. So hopefully that's the sort of line that we can sell. There are going to be opportunities to play, but yeah, it's absolutely difficult. And I guess that's partly why, like Temp says, a lot of this recruitment might come down to the latter stages of the window, where people really have got a sense of whether they're going to even be in a registered squad at their club and such like. And at that point, things might change.
I shall go to Greg in 1 minute. I'll just throw one more at Lewis's way. Lou, at what point do we start to worry about Olorena missing friendlies? He's missed the last 2 now. If he misses the next one, is it a risk? Would you worry about him starting against Brentford, or if he's available, or how do you see that situation?
I think it's always difficult to kind of speculate, because you don't know kind of what individual program that he's on. And it might be a case of just kind of pulling him off, making sure he's ready, goes and has a full week of training leading up to the Brentford game. So I think it's very difficult. I think fitness issues, I think, has been quite. I think it's been kind of surrounding him quite a while. I always look at him and I think he's been terrific. But I always sometimes feel kind of last 15 minutes he just falls off. He just literally drops, and it's like you look at him and it's like he's got nothing left in terms of most games. You know what I mean? So that's something that you see. But again, I think listen, especially now, the amount of staff, especially sports science staff that these Premier League football clubs have, hopefully that they're working on it and working on a way to get him kind of fit and ready to give his maximum each game. But again, like I said, we're not privy to the information in terms of inside it. I understand sometimes players sometimes can come off it a little bit, which can allow them to come off it for a little bit, miss a few games, allows them to go and get a full week's of training ready for the start of the season. So, listen, I think we've just got to be optimistic, wait and see, and hopefully come kind of first game of the season is there in the starting lineup.
Let's just finish up quickly talking about the shirt sponsors that were announced today. Worth a mention, I think it's Borley's. I don't know. I didn't know who they were. Online and physical casino, if that's a word or a phrase. They've signed up for the 2025-26 season because gambling sponsors as front of shirt sponsors are banned after that. And the press release says they have a UK license as well, which is always lovely. Greg, a few people are going to be bothered about having a gambling sponsor. Pete might be one of them. Are you bothered or have any thoughts at all on this or not?
I mean, I'd prefer not to have one. I'd be a hypocrite, though, because I'll have the odd bet and things like that. But for a lot of people, it can really affect and destroy their life. So that's why the new rules are coming in a year's time, and it will be nice next season not to have this conversation, because it happens every single year, and they're the old cigarette sponsors of the past, or even the old alcohol sponsors, that they just put up the most money, and it's very hard for a football club to say no, although some of them valiantly do. And like I say, next season I'll just be glad when it's not a discussion point.
Apparently they're more than a gambling firm. They own they own sports networks in the US. I didn't know that, Simon.
I'd never heard of them, so that's why you put them on the front of your shirt. I suppose it works.
Yeah, I suppose so. I mean, it's not hypocritical to say that. I have a bet, and I'd rather not. But I'm not like massively adamant about it personally, as much as Pete might be. I don't know.
That's a great point, by the way, by NJL. I'm going to have that. New rules coming in time for Greg's oral bets before.
Just throw that at your friends if they want you to pay out. Yeah, definitely.
Cut and dry.
Pete, are you bothered or not?
I'm not going to go into a big moralistic speech about it at 10:42 when we've been doing this podcast for 55 minutes. I think people will know my views on it. I don't think football clubs should choose gambling firms as front of shirt sponsors personally, but on the positive side, good to have one that's actually licensed to operate, has a website, appears to have real people in press releases that it issues. Looks quite good on the shirt as well, I'd say. So there's some positives to say about it.
Yeah, we have the same conversation every year, and we won't have it next year. So let's move on. Lewis, any final thoughts? I don't know if you'll be on again before the season starts. We've got one more friendly left, Al Qadisa on Saturday, and we'll have a little preview about who they are actually for 10 minutes on a podcast tomorrow, I think. Lou, any final thoughts on where we're at before we let you go?
No, what I would say, a little bit of transfer news in terms of player that's been spoken about. It seems that RB Leipzig are in for Harvey Elliott.
Oh, interesting.
So,
Okay.
That looks like it's in an early stage, but it seems like so that's potentially one off the list that possibly looking at going somewhere else. So,
I saw in the comments earlier someone said that he's not liking our style of play or something. Has that come out as it?
Not that I've seen.
Yeah,
I mean, he's a player who needs a move, isn't he? The Bundesliga move is a.
I think it's more so they're going to lose Simons.
Yeah.
I think it's more of a straight replacement for him. So it kind of, it's David Ornstein. So you know what I mean. Normally, he kind of most stories have got some legs in it. So yeah, that seems like potentially maybe someone off the list in terms of that area for us that we've obviously been linked with.
Be a really good move for him, that would, I think.
I think so. Shame. I would have liked him. A different option again. Yeah. I like that Lewis is warming up for transfer deadline day. If he's going to be on this year as well, he's getting in there early. I like that.
More of that. I like it.
Yeah. We'll do loads on deadline day, hopefully, because I think we'll be busy. So hopefully Lou will be with us for
that. Last time I was on, it was quite a dull night.
It was crap, wasn't it? Yeah.
That's the word you're looking for.
Yeah, it was.
I think he can get my hair cut for me on that night, maybe.
Maybe can we have like a big charity haircut at the big shed or something? Get Nicky down, sort us all out.
Yeah.
Before we lose it. Yeah.
It won't be crap this year. I reckon we'll do some business. Some exciting.
I think it could be pretty lively, to be honest.
Yeah, the way it's shaping up.
I've got a nice bottle or two of red stored up already for it.
Good. That's what I like to hear when we're live broadcasting. Drunk panelists, exactly what we want. Greg, anything you want to add before we let Pete say the final word?
I want an update on the chat boxing match from the other night. That's gone all quiet.
I think the people, Lou isn't aware of this. There were two people offering each other out, but in the guise of doing it for charity. I don't know. They're not here tonight. I can't remember who they were.
The late night chat's quite interesting.
Yeah.
No, just roll on the season now. I feel like I've had so many pre-season games and still one more to come. Let's get a couple of players in, get that full City ground and get beating Brentford for me. Oh, and the overlap's out tomorrow as well. I had a nice discussion with my Palace mate today. So, yeah.
But he's a nice guy, isn't he? I don't know him at all. He comes across nice.
Yeah, he's a lovely guy. He was very passionate about his team, though, just like I was. So, yeah.
Rory Jennings quiet, or did he have a lot to say?
No, he had a lot to say.
I can't believe that.
I'll wait till tomorrow, but I'm sure he'll annoy every single one of you with what he had to say.
I just fast forward his bits, to be honest. So
He's all right. He's all right.
Okay. I'm sure he's a lovely guy, honest. Right. Pete, anything you want to
add? Nothing much. Massively looking forward to the season now. Tonight's whet the appetite a bit. First 45 minutes particularly. I mean, after the Birmingham game, whenever it was, a few days ago, I was on holiday and I watched all of it and left with a pretty visceral sense of hopelessness having watched that football match. So things have turned around a bit. Really enjoyed the first half today, feeling pretty positive. Roll on Brentford.
Yeah, one more friendly to get through. I like talking about football, but I don't like talking about pre-season friendlies particularly because we always have the same conversations, just in slightly different guises. So yeah, Premier League isn't far away. Join us tomorrow, like I say, Angus Gunn chat a little bit on who Al Qadisa actually are, so we know a bit more about the player and the club in question. And then I can't remember what else there is coming up. That was your Q&A. That was the other thing. What day is it tomorrow? Wednesday?
Yeah.
Yeah, I've got to think of something for Friday.
Holiday.
You need to at least pretend that you know what day of the week it is, Matt. Come on.
I think I
Can
might
I-
have just realised that I've got an empty day in the schedule and there's probably nothing planned for Friday now because I thought it was Wednesday night all along.
I can do a Q&A with you tomorrow if you need something.
Can you do it on Thursday? Booking our.
Well, you just said you had an empty day tomorrow.
No, I've got a day tomorrow. I think I've got. When's this? Sorry, everyone.
Should we just go, Lewis?
Yeah, should we do it off air?
I've got
No,
Wednesday.
that's a good idea.
Wednesday
Do you know
and
earlier,
Thursday.
before we started this podcast, these are just having a little chat, and I was like, should we get going then? Should we actually start the podcast rather than you nattering away? We didn't even get a chance to speak about Sheffield Wednesday as well, that horrendous situation. But
And
we should.
Morecambe
We,
as well.
we
That's
should.
all more.
I'll be honest, that's one place I never want to speak about.
oh, gosh.
Yeah, when you said Sheffield Wednesday, that was the first thing I
First
thought of.
Yeah, don't. Yeah, that's no.
Yeah, but it's not right. It's not right what's happening
What's-
there.
Yeah,
For the fans and for Morecambe as well. That is
Yeah.
pretty shady what's going on there, certainly. Right. Do us a favour. If you like that calamity of the last hour, hit like on this video or consider membership or Patreon. Can't even find the video. There we go. Let's start again. Hit like, hit subscribe, do consider membership or Patreon, or just give us a lovely 5-star review on Apple or Spotify. I'm glad that Lewis has been doing this with us for like 3 years now, because if this was the first show, he wouldn't have come back seeing some of the.
No.
some
He's
of the-
Does he
Might
get
not.
like a 3-year
Yeah.
mug or anything?
Say again.
Does he get like a 3-year mug?
I can't be.
He'd have to sign it for me, and then I'd probably give it away. That would be the plan.
I've still got Jake's mug from the live show, but I have noticed that it had a little bit of damage on. I'm hoping that was already there when I picked it up.
Oh, Greg, you're almost professional. Jake was on the podcast, the extra little bonus podcast today, talking about FPL. She finished 61st in the world. So he and my friend Baker, who do lots of FPL stuff, were there. And I forgot to plug the league that we have. So 8 lowercase e, 6 lowercase ojh, if you want to join the podcast mini league and if you want to see a chat about FPL. Anyway.
Are you and I'm not going to go too
Oh
much
my
into
god!
it,
How long
are
has it
you
been going on for? Is
are
this
you and
podcast
Pete
an hour or a day?
are you and Pete joining the
I'm in it.
FPL league after all the controversy in pre-season, or are you?
It's not controversy.
Oh my
just
God.
Greg's
No,
got
it's
this
fine. I won't
ridiculous
go
theory
into
that
it.
we're
Honestly,
insider
it's fine.
trading by discussing FPL.
No, it's all right. You crack on.
I don't control the results. Right.
I think
Greg
this might be
Mitchell,
more mad than normal.
I'm
let's
ending
end
it. We've got to end this. It's 10:50. You know, Lewis wants to go to bed. He's got to get up in the morning and have a fresh start of life
Round
after
of
this.
golf.
No, he's got. Lou, are you playing golf tomorrow? Or are you busy?
I wish I've got my first preseason academy friendlies tomorrow. So yeah,
for real?
yeah. So hopefully the boys aren't watching this and they're in bed.
I hope they're not as
I don't know.
They'll be
Yeah.
asleep if they are watching it now.
Oh dear. Greg Mitchell, let's call this domain. Greg Mitchell, thank you very much.
I played golf yesterday, but we'll leave it. Thank you.
Oh my god!
Pete Blackburn, thank you very much.
Thanks. I think.
I played golf yesterday. Is that? I watched most of Happy Gilmore today. That's my contribution to golf. Happy Gilmore too. Lewis McGugan, thank you very much.
No problem at all. Anytime.
Are you sure? Right. Thanks very much, everyone. Have a good hour and 8 minutes of the rest of the day. And if we don't see you tomorrow, we shall see you soon.